Whether you talk to your boss every day over coffee, or you see him once a year because the company makes him sit down with you and ask you questions for an hour, either way, his time is valuable and so is yours. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 tips you can use to make sure you leverage every second of that review and make it the best ever. The first thing you want to do with your year-end review is know what you want in advance. You might just want to show up and have a good review and get out of there as quickly as possible, and that's okay. Or you might want a bonus, more responsibility, or that big raise you've been thinking about. Either way, know what you want in advance and state it at the beginning of the meeting. This way your boss understands where you're coming from and how you'll be angling the rest of the conversation. The second thing to do for your year-end review is remember to take evidence. And what I mean by evidence is write down on a summary page all of the things that you have done for the year that have generated money for the company, saved on expenses, maybe you've made processes more efficient or enhanced teamwork. Any way that you have added value to the organization, especially if it's above and beyond what was expected of you, write that down and write it down in the language of the dollar. What I mean by that, if you put it in an expense or revenue, a way that you have helped the company's bottom line directly, then you make the homework easy for your boss. If you want a promotion and you can show that you're bringing in 3 or 4 times your own value, then it makes it a lot easier for them to give you that bonus or promotion that you've been asking for. There are 2 big mistakes that I see people making of all ages and all levels of organizational experience. And those 2 mistakes are, first, assuming that your boss understands the value you have added to the organization that year. You know, your boss is very busy and there are competing interests for his or her time. Because of that, they might be filtering by who's talking the loudest to them, who sits right outside their office, or maybe it's the person that they are most similar to in personality. There are a lot of ways that they filter information, but guess what? It's up to you, because your career is most important to you and no one else, to write those things down. The second mistake I see people make in their year-end review, especially women, is we like to be humble. And so if we have a rating scale of meets expectations or exceeds expectations, a lot of times we might put meet expectation because we don't want to seem ostentatious. Don't do that. If you exceeded expectations and you know it, then take your evidence with you and mark the form in the way that you actually performed. Remember, nobody else is looking out for your career as much as you will be. So take care of that. So avoid those 2 mistakes, assuming your boss knows what you've done for the year, and secondly, not filling the form out the way that you honestly feel that you have done because you're being humble. Don't do that. Finally, the third thing to do is show up with a couple of questions. I recommend things like, what keeps you up at night? How could I help mitigate that? Or maybe if budget wasn't an issue, what would you like to see happen at the company next year or in your department next year? What this does is show your boss that you're thinking ahead. You're thinking about the future and you care about them. You're not just asking for something for yourself, but you're also helping them reach their goals as well. So in summary, remember these 3 tips to make sure this is the best year-end review you have ever had. First, know what you want when you go in and state it clearly. Second, write down the evidence of the value you have brought this year and take it with you. And third, be sure to ask your boss a few questions about what's going on with him or her. This will show him that you're thinking ahead to next year. I can tell this is going to be the best year-end review ever for you. I'm Tabitha Scott, and I want to help you move forward fast.